Why is the stock market so high while the economy is collapsing? That doesn't make any sense. In a world where inflation is high, unemployment is rising, and the housing market is in turmoil, you'd expect the stock market to follow suit. Instead, stocks keep hitting the new highs and leaving many to wonder what's really going on here. And so let's break this down. We need to understand the difference between the stock market and the economy. They're closely related, but they're not the same thing. The stock market is essentially a reflection of corporate earnings and investor sentiment, while the economy is much broader. It measures a country's overall economic health. When the economy is struggling, you expect stock prices to drop. That's not always the case. In fact, sometimes the stock market can even rise when the economy is facing major challenges. We're going to explore why, because it doesn't add up. So the first reason, this crazy scenario where the stock prices and stock market, everything's up and doing great, and everyday people are hurting, economy's in the tank. Well, one reason would be government stimulus and central bank policies. Over the past few years, the Federal Reserve, they've been flooding the market with money. You remember that back during the pandemic. They were printing money and just doling it out. Inflation. And you had low interest rates and quantitative easing and direct stimulus payments to individuals and businesses. That created an environment where money is cheap and people have more cash to invest. Because the interest rates are so low, investing in stocks became more attractive to people than putting money in a savings account where you're earning pennies to the dollar. It wasn't even worth your time to open up a savings account in recent times. You don't earn anything. People are looking for returns, and that's when the Fed kept pumping cash into the system. The investors flooded the market and drove the prices up. Second reason, corporate profits. Even in tough times, some companies are thriving. Yeah, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Especially the tech giants, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, those companies weather the storm and continue to report strong earnings. But here's the kicker. Many companies are using their profits to buy back their own stocks. That's to give a false impression that they're doing well. At the same time, they're conducting massive layoffs, and there's been tons of videos. I've done a few videos on mass layoffs. That's been happening all of 2025. So the big boys, they buy back their own stocks, which reduce the number of shares available, which increases the value of each remaining share. This makes the stock price go up even if the overall economy is shrinking.
Companies frequently buy their own stock to remove it from the marketplace. Basically, they're taking those imaginary stock certificates and burning them to decrease the overall supply and drive up the value of the remaining stocks. Before 1980, this practice was illegal. Letting a company buy its own stock so that it could be destroyed used to be outlawed because of the fear that executives would use this process to manipulate stock prices, which is precisely why it's happening today. How common are stock buybacks? Between 2009 and 2018, U.S. companies spent about $4 trillion buying and burning their own stocks. According to hedge fund owner Chris Cole of Artemis Capital, stock buybacks accounted for 40% of total earnings per share growth since 2009, and an astounding 72% of earnings growth since 2012. One of the primary drivers of the last decade's bull market was stock buybacks.
We have investor sentiment, or how people feel about the market. In an economic downturn, investors believe the market will continue to rise. They'll keep buying. This creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more people buy stocks, the higher the market goes, even if the underlying economic fundamentals are weak. So, times are tough, people are out of work, and yet we keep supporting the stock market. A lot of people are jumping into the stock market, not just for long-term growth, but for short-term gains. With new trading apps, it makes it easy for people that are new to the investing that they can hop on. They got a couple extra bucks they want to invest, see if they can get a nice return on their investment. And lastly, we've got the disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. Now, like me and most of you guys out there, we're Main Street. We're the everyday folks. But then you got the big boys in Wall Street and then another whole planet. So there's a growing disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. While the stock market is soaring, many regular people are struggling. And there's plenty of videos out there. I've done a ton of videos on life being tough for everybody, everyday struggles, massive layoffs, there are no jobs, there's more people looking for work than there are available jobs, ghost jobs, on and on and on. There's a lot of topics in this realm about how everyday people are struggling. And that gap is widening as the rich get richer and the rest of us in this economy, we face increasing challenges. So many mom and pop shops, they can't afford to hire new employees. So why is this happening? Because Wall Street is heavily influenced by the biggest companies, while Main Street, that reflects the everyday folks, you and I, and all of our struggles. The market often does not reflect the everyday realities faced by most of us. So why is the stock market so high while the economy is collapsing? That's a mix of government policies, corporate strategies, investor behavior, and a disconnect between Wall Street, the big wigs, and Main Street, you and I. So in the end, while the stock market may continue to soar, doesn't mean the economy is in good shape for everyone. Everyday folks like us, we're hurting. There's no jobs, and the job market's trash. There's ghost jobs. There's a disconnect between employer and employee. We're just a number now to these employers, and they want the perfect candidate. And there's all these games. There's so many different topics involving everyday life and the struggles that we face. Are you investing in the stock market right now? Are you worried about another crash? I think most of us are struggling just to survive. We don't have extra cash to be dumping in the stock market. We're just trying to get by on a daily basis. Let me know what you guys think. What are you guys doing out there? What are you seeing? Are you investing in the stock market? Leave a comment. I want to hear from you. Share, like, and subscribe, and I appreciate your time. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next round.